Yeah, you know what it is. 140 for the rapper, busy man, shit, nigga. They take their head over, nigga.
Right where Eve did to Adam, I just pray my love don't lie to me. Swing the iron like Samson, I can't let no holder lie to me. I don't feel these rappers, all they lies is hypocrisy. Ain't no competition, ain't no rivalry. Niggas think I'm playing, I don't hear one word they saying, this shit light work. Think Muhammad one of us, he might lose his life first. Circle up and stay alert. Another cop just stretch the nigga. He ain't think it's an exorcism. Watch I bless the nigga. You took that oath in blood, then you know I'm gonna get active with you. Fuck the opposition, I see vision. Let me paint the picture. Rappers can they spin, I ain't listening. Is effective. If revenge was a woman, now I scope that bitch like Jacob. War, we gon' run the summer. It's gon' be historical. Thought they making plays, made them niggas call the audible. Ask who run this shit, but that question is rhetorical. Bitch, I'm the one, need cookies with the oil. I'ma get them crackers, hell, should've never kidnapped my family. I can't be do that. Bet I be the last nigga standing. Do a life sentence for my niggas, pray you understand me. I might put a switch on this Glock and call it young play. How you real trigger know them dots? You a bird feeder, claiming he a demon. It's a demon to a cold leader. What he saying something, I ain't hear him. This shit like it ain't about who got the gun, it's about who gon' up that fight first. I turn a bad situation to a game change. Bring soldiers from the dead, just raised up the chains. Bring shots, I'ma look like Aaron Jones when I run it. Never bite the hand and feet, so you will never get that hand back. He bitch about 10%, I don't wanna hear none of that. He dropping sword, fuck him, just make sure you get that cover back. Look around, he ain't with us, probably cause he never was. Now my chin like you with the angels for your brothers. Everybody won't be Richard Porter, God kill him like Alpo. Play if he want, it's laying in the trunk like Lee Malvo. A certified oversized nigga, I am not a toy. Hey, I with that hollow sign, yeah, this the real court. Feel like Gullah Jack when I'm in Fayetteville, you feel your boy. Still up on my brain, still I think that's all that I do. The way I get it, boy, lost, they gon' start to call it hell right. Fuck his gang, pop out on them demons like I'm hell, boy.
I got you. Let it rap real quick. Look.
See the eyes, it's time to poke off. My God, a real nigga, cause he want no flaws. Posted on the corner like a watchdog. Family secure, got that shotty in the closet by the mob ball. Fuck what they heard, but tell them it's all true. Be cautious, that foundation falls till you fall through. They gon' fall. Look, I keep this shit fitted, times two. Ain't no more heart in this game, I'm John Q. Colder than the avalanche, way above average. Fierce taste sweet, told him make me an apple tree. Left us in the valley full of bones, this where hope found. Java, come on, man, dark sands get broke down. Riding through Evanston with Mark Quad, telling me how the crackers turn his childhood to a ghost town. Focus out, nigga, I lay that game down. I feel his pain, cause nothing is the same now. Never light shine like heaven through a rain cloud. Glock ever fit like my child, no tangent. Try to warn them niggas, we bear arms like tarantulas. The mother niggas rap, I make anthems. I really seen profits under this banner. Make my enemies bow down on camera. Told my design I want it black and white like a panda. I'm better than that nigga that's some dirty to handle. Look, I move like a Brazilian, precious cargo, spirit Asian, but I got a new semi-auto. Wave that bitch around like where's Hardo. Sleep if they won't, I cut through they Z's like I'm Zorro. Pay me for his name, so I gotta keep that steel clutch. Trust me, I'm not what you think. I squeeze till it click like Dorothy when the heels touch. The world got me dumb, I don't feel much. Round with Yara, just left the state bridge. Looking for a bitch better than Baby's kid. Remember, I dropped Quiet Storm, I've been gone ever since. Still in the field, fuck them niggas on the fence, yeah.
They killed, give me Isaiah 14 and 21. They did the same thing to my people. So that you said that they put millions of my people. Should a murderer go to jail for murdering? Absolutely. Should a thief go to jail when he steals? Absolutely. Should a robber pay back the money he robbed? Absolutely. So why shouldn't the white man pay for what he did? That's right. One day you'll see just how it feels. Payback is a door. Payback is a door.
I'm in a hell of a hole, was never expected to grow. Just hustle, go stand in the road. That a result of me selling my soul. The story I'm telling is cold, but yet it's what everyone knows. The white man's the devil is known. America was never a home. Only a place of captivity, safe facility, hating, disfigure me. They claim that I'm lazy, be killing me. Maybe the slavery draining my energy. 400 years and counting. The trail of my tears is countless. The fact that I'm here is astounding, but I can't wait till this shit is surrounded. Ready to tangle my king and the angel, be ready to rap. Crack in the sky, nuclear missiles will make it official. I'm capturing every cracker surviving. Put them all in chains where they need to be. Slavery for me. And let the whole world see that with them in the cages, safer in the streets. Put the dog on a leash. Get resolved for the beast. 144, get the ruler show, we could all be at peace. As soon as the trumpets are sound, your kingdom be busting it down. The only way justice is found, the time for your judgment is now. You'll see just how it feels. Payback is a door. Payback is a door. Look, ain't no remorse in my blood slump. It won't be no compromise. Now it's time to feed the worms. Watch his body turn to flies. I clutch iron while you trust the lies. The next Glock I buy gon' be Gen 5. I get it customized. And sending shots off like farewell. Praying payback come back around like a carousel. Still remember your Honda
so who is you, bitch? I don't need the love. Killers right round the way. What you think I love this brotherhood? Hood. More than you, bitch. Sharp on shit, I'm about it. UPK too solid. Fuck nigga don't want war. It ain't enough clips in your army. All the bitches wanna take my piece. All the hoes wanna take my piece. All the nigga wanna take my piece. No, I can't let a dog take it from me. I can't let a dog take it from me. You a whole study and you dummy. And these bitches really out this bitch walking around like they don't know nothing. And a lame nigga fall for them and get set up for the coins and get gunned down, man down, straight to the time, get a damn no. But I see the shawty and I show her. She could never get a priest holding. Get a dirt ass, rust ass neck bitch with a fake ass jewelry. In Tennessee while I'm touring. It's a Tennessee, but she luring. Yeah, that sucker duck bitch ass boy, fuck nigga over that bit muggin'. I say, if that nigga on wall, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded for hip page line up. Young nigga named is Slayer. What you think? Well, you be done to try. Psycho shit, we got it. UPK too solid. Little bitch think I'm crazy. Think I'm playing. My bitch, I ain't the one. Warfare every day, so who is you, bitch? I don't need your love. Killers right round the way. What you think? I love this brotherhood. Hood. Money, you bitch. You a lame nigga down to me. Eat candy, but I'm sucker free. You a little nigga ain't nothing to me. Face up, boy, I fit a beat. Yeah, AR 223. Draco with a magazine. Yeah, the clip run like limousine. I shoot your ass in the spleen. Boy, I bust your ass in the temple. We debating on the temple. Tell the truth, boy, you's a victim. And you're scoring off like a lizard. Nigga walk down my road. Why does nigga come down my road? Boy, come down my road. Boy, I charge your ass whole fee. I'm a real big priest, nigga. UBK play for keys, nigga. Command to get a damn order, but ain't nothing to me to damn kill you. I stuck his ass like a cat. All weapons, boys full of tech. Boy, like a close comeback. Nigga got popped off for a neck. If that nigga won't walk, bitch, we ready. It ain't hard to find us. Hawk, I keep that stick locked, loaded for hip page line up. Young nigga name is Slayer. What you think? Well, you be done to try. South Coast shit, we got it. UPK, you solid. Little bitch think I'm crazy. Think I'm playing like bitch, I ain't the one. Warfare every day, so who is you, bitch? I don't need your love. Killers right round the way. What you think? I love this brotherhood. Hood. More than you, bitch.
Christ said 7 women gonna be on one nigga in the end time. Nigga, fuck wrong with you, boy. Stressed by that damn hoe ass bitch. Fake ass nigga too. Dumb ass motherfucker. Fuck you. Yeah. On 44 shit, you know what I mean? Busy man. Look, when that shit drop, you step all the way on their neck, step on their neck and they head with that shit.
Fine it. I ain't show no mercy. We gon' show them boy what time it is. I pop out like I'm Samuel. I got time to kill. Haters thought I died. I survived. They don't know how I did it. Got it out the mud. Straight to glory. They don't know how I paid. Nice, but he don't show them skills. How I show them skills. He ride, but he don't work the wheel. How I work the wheel. They mad. Up to solid. Circle tight. Yeah. Vacuum seal. No, they want my life. I ain't worried. I got rank for real. I got real soldiers. Kill folk. Nigga, watch yourself. They said you been in beast mode lately. You is not self. When you dropping that fire, precious marriage, they inquiring. They can't stop what's coming, but I see them conspire. Cross the line, them firing. This bitch here, finna break the spin. No kindness, I don't trust you, circle small. You can keep your features. Me and my niggas don't keep no secrets. In the field like Jeepers Creepers. Say they want some smoke, dog. So I brought these chimney sweeps. Ain't coming like we coming. You can't even count. These niggas don't run it like we running. Bitch, don't even start. Bitch, I'm with my niggas till the end, till them do us part. So if you wanna leave, you can leave, bitch. Bless your heart, find it. I ain't show no mercy, we gon' show them boy what time it is. I pop out like I'm Samuel. I got time to kill. Haters thought I died, I survived. They don't know how I did it. Got it out the mud, straight to glory. They don't know how I feel. He nice, but he don't show them skills. How I show them skills. He ride, but he don't work the wheel. How I work the wheel. Oh, I got a man, circle tight, yeah, back and still. I heard they want my life. I ain't worried, I got rank for real. Take over in effect, yeah, I'm fully focused. You might not see it on me, just know it's women, that bitch fully loaded. Ooh, yeah, we up and rolling. Told them I need major motion. Nigga, I'm joking. I'ma school them niggas like they baby children. Got it out the dust, now I'm too clean, don't know why they hate me. What you want out life, dog? Guns and butter, baby boy. UPK top, dog. Certified road runner. I'ma turn that eco line, man. court to God. The white man is the devil. See, I've been in here for a little minute. You know what I'm saying? And I see niggas, they like to talk a lot. They like to claim leadership. They like to claim this and that. You know what I'm saying? They like to be above what they really is and have authority.
Trata de un llamado y una convocatoria al alistamiento en la milicia bolivariana, que ya es bastante, sino también que plasmando esa firma y registrándose está diciéndole no al imperialismo, no a la agresión militar, no a la soberbia, a la prepotencia, no a la grosería, a la vulgaridad del imperialismo norteamericano contra el pueblo de Venezuela, contra su legitimidad de instituciones y del liderazgo político militar de la República Bolivariana de Venezuela. Nosotros rechazamos con mucha contundencia, con mucha fuerza, todas esas agresiones.
Jamás he utilizado un arma.
I have never used a weapon, but defending the country is not only about having a weapon.
We must continue Hugo Chávez's legacy to fight for the homeland and the rights of all Venezuelans.
We defend our people, and we, one way or another, are going to defend ourselves.
Hoy sábado ha sido un éxito total el inicio de esta jornada de reorganización dinámica de todas las fuerzas populares, militares, policiales del sistema defensivo. Mañana domingo continuamos, como fue anunciado, en las plazas Bolívar principales de todos los municipios del país. Yo me alisto porque amo mi patria. Junto a tu familia, junto a tu comunidad, alístate y pasa filas. Que viva Venezuela.
No solamente se trata de un llamado y una convocatoria.
And Salakia, right? Now turn on the mic here, right? So we start from the beginning. Shalom Israel, we are the ISUPK out of 1 West, 125th Street, Harlem, New York, under Command Israel Hannah. We've been teaching the truth about the Bible since 1969, that the Blacks, Hispanics, and Native Indians are the lost 12 tribes of the nation of Israel, all right? Before we get straight into the topic, all right? This is the ISUPK Trinidad, under Prison Officer Soa Piala, right? You can see the information passing at the bottom of the screen, right? Our school is Light Pole, number 1, Morris Street, Point Fortin, right? And you could call the numbers at the bottom of the screen. If you want to get in contact with our camp leader, 479-8286, right? You can get in contact with the school if you want to be a part of the school. If you'd like to donate items to the school, food items, canned food, clothing, right? Anything that will be able to help our brothers and sisters through this tough time we're going through in Trinidad and Tobago here, right? We have a lot of people. We had recently over 10,000 people lost in their jobs, right? Instantly, right? So Trinidad and Tobago is under a very tough time during the season, right? And on top of that, we have to deal with the high levels of crime, right? That is in our nation today, all right? And when we look next door, right, at our neighbors, which is Venezuela, right? They too are coming under some serious, heavy pressure, right, from under the United States government, right, under Donald Trump, right? And they too now having themselves placed in a position, right, to defend themselves, right? And we here in Trinidad and Tobago also have to watch closely, right? Because all this also could be a backlash to the Trinidad and Tobago people as well, right? Because you know, most times when these things take place in Venezuela, right, a lot of the Venezuelan people come across to Trinidad, right? And just like the ISPPU under command in General Hannah has always been teaching since 1969, right? The Venezuelan people is our people. You understand? They also belong to the nation of Israel, right? Right? The nation of the Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. You understand? So we accept them here with open arms, right? And they coming under this type of pressure, right? And our leaders here in Trinidad, right? Our leaders, which is the Prime Minister, our Prime Minister, Kamala Persad-Bicester, making a statement recently, right, that they would support all efforts from the American government to support their regime and ideology against Maduro, right? And in her saying this, many, right, have disagreed with her point of view, right, because of the history Venezuela has with Trinidad and Tobago, right, not only as a country, but also of the two people dealing with one another and our history in the Caribbean together, struggles we face against the oppressor, right, which is the so-called Caucasian man today. And now, right, same thing from the past is now happening again, right, just off the coast of Trinidad and Tobago, right? So we're going to get a little bit of that tonight, right? If you could, Officer Shah, Babaka Shah, you give me Isaiah chapter 10 and verse 12, right? And then we will going to get straight into the story, right? These things line straight up with the scriptures. You black man, you Hispanic man, you Native Indian man, right? You are the true Jews of the Bible, and all these things, right, that happening today is not by accident, right? Right? This is the Lord at work, understand, and showing us daily who is the oppressor of all the people in the world, right? America is known, right, as Babylon the Great. You understand? You go around here, everybody talk about the Babylon system and Babylon this and Babylon that. You understand? According to the Bible, Babylon is America today, right? Which is spiritual Egypt. That is the nation of bondage. They bring other nations into bondage, into servitude. And we're looking and seeing that America is once again on the rise to do the same thing, to try to do the same thing to Venezuela, right? And they bring it under the guise of drugs, controlling drugs and the cartel of South America, which has been going on for years, right? Right, which has been going on all over the world for years, right? And we in the ICPK are against drugs, are against cartel organizations, you understand? But the United States is not the answer to solve this issue, right, in terms of bombing other nations, because when the United States intervene into these nations, right, they usually fall apart. The nation usually collapse and end up in turmoil and absolute destruction for its people, right? So, Shah, if you could, Babakasha, Isaiah 10 and verse, so I can catch up with it. Isaiah 10 and verse 2. Start from verse 1, Babakasha.
Isaiah 10, verse 1. Woe unto them that decree unrighteousness.
That's right. And it say, woe unto them that decree unrighteousness, right? A lot of these world leaders, right, make decrees that are unrighteous, right? Understand? They provoke other nations for no reason, right? And come against them for their own ideology and their own agenda, right? They have their own mission that they want to push, right? And in this case, the United States coming against Venezuela, right? Has put out that they're coming to eradicate all the drugs and ammunition and to destroy the different cartels, right? But really and truly, they have their hidden agenda behind the trying to overthrow this Venezuelan government. Go ahead, Babakusha.
Right, previous they have prescribed.
That's right. And that right grievousness which they have prescribed, go ahead.
To aside the from judgment.
Go ahead.
And take away the right from the poor of my people.
And that's right. The United States, right? They're trying to turn away the needy from judgment and to take away the right of the poor of my people. And what many people don't understand, right, is that the Venezuelan people, right, belong to the tribe of Asha, right? And they are the Lord's people, right? And the United States, while it may look physical, that they're just coming against Venezuela, they are also coming against the Lord's people. Understand? That's not some random nation. Understand? They are coming to take away the rights of the poor of my people, meaning the Lord's people. Understand? And this is what we're seeing here today, going on when the United States sending out these naval vessels and submarines, right? And over 4,000 military personnel, understand, off the coast of Venezuela, understand? And Trinidad's role, right, in this has become very critical, right? Because our leaders here, right, which is our Prime Minister Kamala Prasad, the sister, right, right, she is of the East Indian background, right, and she has determined and shift the policy of Trinidad and Tobago, right, to supporting the United States, right? So before many of the Caribbean countries supported Maduro, right, to prevent his regime from being overthrown, because they had known the history of how America topples different countries, right, all over the world, and they understand that when America intervenes, it is not to help that nation. It usually brings the nation to their knees and bring them to destruction, right? But this government in Trinidad and Tobago has decided to support Donald Trump in their efforts, right, to bring to bring the United States agenda, right, to fruition, right? But many in society have been calling out against the Prime Minister, right, that this is a terrible decision that they are making, understand? Because when the United States has reached their point of fulfillment, they usually discard whoever they were in partnership with, right? And if I could just pull up this slide here, right? Many, right? Many don't understand that the United States has toppled many nations, right? Let's see if I can share the screen here. Right? So we're sharing the screen here, right? Make sure everybody could see it. Right, nice. And this basically shows, right, all the countries that the United States, right, have intervened in some way or the other, right? Whether be it airstrikes, special ops, or peacekeeping missions, right? And all these countries have suffered very badly, right, in terms of recovering after these interventions. And you can see, right, and this is just some of it, right? But you can see here, the United States in 1980, they went in El Salvador, right? The U.S. supported Salvadorian government during civil war and military aid and advisors, right? It didn't turn out too well for El Salvador. Libya, naval skirmishes in the Gulf of Cedra, U.S. shut down Libyan jets. Look at Libya today, still in a mess, right? You have Sinai, U.S. sent in peacekeepers to supervise Israeli-Egyptian peace accords. These nations still battling against each other today, right? You have interventions in Lebanon, Egypt, Grenada, right? Just recently, Right? They say U.S. invaded to overthrow a Marxist regime in Grenada, and just recently, the United States put a ban, right, on Grenadian visas. You understand, right? I think that the lift the cost, right, for these visas. So now Grenada under visa restrictions, right, to travel to United States, right? And as we know, Trinidad, visa, the cost to get a visa has been risen significantly. So it is very difficult, right, for many to get visas from Trinidad, and a lot of the Caribbean countries has fall under this this criteria that the United States sets, right? And even the UK has joined in as well, right, to raise the cost of traveling to the United States and these European countries, right? They too are also in United Kingdom is also an ally or in support of the of America, right? So we're going back to the list here, right? So all these are countries that the United States has intervened, right? And these countries has not recovered or struggled to recover, right? And it could go through, you see, Honduras, right? Military exercise to pressure Nicaragua's Sandinista government, right? They had the Persian Gulf, you have Libya airstrikes. They went Bolivia, Iran, Kuwait, right? They had the famous invasion of Panama in 1988, right? Right? Then they came all along the way in 1989 with Colombia, Bolivia, and Peru, right? All under the guise of U.S. anti-drug operations. And this was in 1989. They ran an anti-drug operation. And still today, right, the drug trade down there did not make any change. Understand? They was not able to solve this. Understand? So when they're coming under the guise to crush the drug trade in Venezuela and saying that Venezuela is bringing drugs into the United States, right? When you look at the past, right, how they intervene in different countries under the guise of drugs or some type of weapon that this nation had, right? It wasn't to solve that problem, but it was to destabilize the country and to make regime change or make the government fall in that particular country, right? And this stem from, if you go back here, we'll be stemming from all the way in, right? This list starts from 1980 and it comes all the way up, right, to 2015. And from 2015 to 2025 is 10 years, right? And they also had interventions all the way up, right? And we're in 2025 and they also want to intervene into Venezuela, right? And you could see all on the screen, you have they even intervene in Ukraine, right? To support after Russia annexed Crimea, right? And this was before this original Ukrainian war we have here with Ukraine, Russia, before annexed a part of Ukraine called Crimea, right? And from since that time, Ukraine never recovered. Ukraine keep going downhill. You understand? And keep the country keep being more and more destabilized, and you can see well how it turned basically now, right? Then the pledge to fight the war against ISIS, you understand? And you can see how the Middle East, sorry, is even more divided than it is now, right? And all that is because of U.S. intervention, right? Because the United States agenda is to keep control of these regions and to keep dominant power over their resources and the resources that come out of these regions, right? And if we are to go look at this list from 2015 all the way back to 1980, you can see it's almost maybe more than 100 different interventions, right? And all is not even on this list, right? So this is just to show, right, that the history of this nation, the history of Babylon the Great, right? The history of America intervening into these different nations has not been well for any of these particular nations. It has not done well, right? Even on the list was Haiti. And look at Haiti today. Haiti is in a terrible condition today. They keep sending peacekeeping officers. They send military personnel from Kenya. You understand? The United States intervene, right? And it has not been well for Haiti. Haiti is under tremendous pressure, right? Even when you move to Cuba, understand? Cuba continues to be under tremendous pressure, right? Because of the U.S. embargo against Cuba, right? And bringing a lot of restrictions in Cuba where the country is unable to develop as fast as other countries, and it makes Cuba get stuck, right? Like if Cuba is still in 1950s or 1960s, understand? All the infrastructure is very dilapidated and it is old Spanish architecture, right? Because Cuba was colonized by the Spanish, right? Right, and the United States played a pivotal role in keeping Cuba the way it is today, right? And when you go through the Cuban Missile Crisis, right, and the Cuban Missile Crisis, right, was in 1962, right, the 16th to the 28th, right. And this was a 13-day standoff between the United States and what we will call the Soviet Union, right? And over the presence of and this was over the presence of Soviet nuclear missiles in Cuba, just 90 miles off the coast of Florida, right? It is considered the closest the world has come to nuclear war, right? And this was during the Cuban Missile Crisis where the Soviet Union, right, decided to build nuclear facilities to gain leverage over America, because America was dominating the world, right, understand, and bringing a lot of pressure upon Cuba, right? After this failed U.S. backed Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, right? Cuba's leader Fidel Castro strengthened ties with the Soviet Union, right? And the Soviet premier at that time, right, which was Nikita Khrushchev, secretly placed nuclear missiles in Cuba to deter a future U.S. invasion and to counter U.S. missiles in Europe, right? So they had to put up some type of defense, right, before the United States decided to invade Cuba, right? U.S. President John F. Kennedy responded by announcing a naval blockade called a quarantine around Cuba to stop more Soviet weapons from arriving. The United States demanded that the Soviets remove the missiles. Tensions escalated as both nations prepared for a possible nuclear war, right? And this, as we know, almost led to a nuclear war breakout. Right? This almost led to a nuclear war breaking out between the United States and the Soviet Union, right? And fast forward now, right? So the Soviets agreed to remove the missiles from Cuba in exchange for a U.S. public promise not to invade Cuba, right? And a secret U.S. agreement was removed to remove its nuclear missiles from Turkey. So they made deals. So the United States will remove their nuclear missiles from Turkey, which was closer to the Soviet Union, right? And the United States had to promise not to invade Cuba, right? And this crisis ended peacefully, and both sides realized that the need for better communication, right, leading to the Moscow-Washington hotline, right? And as we know, the Soviet Union ended up falling apart, right? And now the Russians, as we know it today, or Moscow as we know it today, right? Moscow has a direct hotline to Washington in case anything like this should happen again, right? So, and Cuba now has is supported, right, by Russia at times, but the United States embargo on Cuba has restricted Cuba from receiving any outside investment and any infrastructure development, right, causing Cuba to fall behind all the other countries in the Caribbean, right, and making the country look like it is from 1950s or the 1960s, right? If I could just share another video here, so we would see what this looks like, right? All right, so this is some actual footage, right? Right, and the city remains dilapidated, right, and it is of old Spanish architecture, right? You can see that some of the vehicles used, right, are very old, right? Some of them from the 1980s, right, and early 1990s, right? And you can see the place how it remains looking like a nation from the past, right? And that is because the US has put a lot of embargo type of cards, right? A lot of embargoes on the country, so the country is not able to develop as fast as it should, right? Causing the country to remain like it is in a time lapse, right? Or some type of time loop, right? And that is because of the US embargo on Cuba, right? Let's see here the US embargo, right? After the Cuban Revolution in 1959, right? Fidel Castro nationalized US-owned businesses and moved towards socialism. So the direction the government took was a socialist type of government, right? And any US-owned business, he nationalized it, meaning that the government took it over and owned it, right? And in response, the US imposed the trade embargo on Cuba in 1960, expanded in 1962, right before the Cuban Missile Crisis. That embargo is still in place today, restricting Cuba's ability to trade, to get loans, and to attract investment. So that embargo is still in place today, causing the country to remain in this state it is, right? And we're saying all this, right, to show that they are now heading to make an intervention into Venezuela, right? Again, right? And this time, once more, Venezuela is in the news once more, right? And all this is to show that anytime the US intervenes into a nation, the nation collapses. Understand? Right? And this slowly reveals who actually is the oppressor, who is the oppressor of all these nations in the world. Understand? And this is Babylon the Great, the United States of America, right? Bringing oppression, right? And bondage to all different nations that they intervene, right? On the face of the earth, right? Give me Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 21, Baba Kusha.
Proverbs chapter 11, verse 27. He that diligently seeketh good.
Salakia. Proverbs 11 and 21. Salakia.
Proverbs chapter 11 and verse 21.
Yeah.
Though hands join in hand, the wicked shall not be unpunished.
That's right. Right? And the scripture says, don't hand join in hand, the wicked shall not be punished. Right? And the Trinidad and Tobago government stance on this issue. Understand? Joining hands with a nation who is about to oppress. Understand? Right? Our people for no reason. Right? They say, do hand join in hand, the wicked shall not go unpunished. Understand? So if our nation decide to join the oppressor, they will not go unpunished. Right? You black man, you Hispanic man, you Native Indian man, understand what's happening in our society today. Right? And that is because of the leadership and who is in charge, right, of our leadership here in Trinidad and Tobago, right? They are guided by their interests, right? And their people, right? And their people, the reason why they're making these decisions is because their people are support Guyana, right? Right? Because many of the Indo Trinidadian, right, support the Indo Guyanese people. Understand? Right? Especially their president, Kufuor, right? And they are supporting Guyana in terms of having the Escobar region as ownership by Guyana, right, due to the oil. And this is why the United States has arrived in the Caribbean, right? So while the pretext may be for guns and ammunition and drug cartels, right? This was because of the falling out before, right? And as we go into different articles, we're going to understand, right? This was because of the falling out over the Essequibo region, right? Between Venezuela and Guyana, right? And Venezuela saying that they have already went to the international court and laid claim to this piece of land, right? Which has massive amount of oil. I think it's almost a couple billion barrels of oil, right? That is within this region, right? But this region is disputed between Venezuela and Guyana. Now, our leadership here, right, which is of the East Indian descent, right, decided to support Kufuor and the United States government in terms of that particular region of oil, right? And the United States has passed this plan to come and execute this regime out of Venezuela, right? And to try to overthrow this government. And the government here in Trinidad, which recently changed, right, this year, right, has decided to support the United States government, right? So we're going to go in, if we could get, I will tell you which article to get from it. Sure. Right. Right. Give me this one. Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister challenges Maduro.
Kamala Persad-Vicessa, the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago, has sent a strong message to the region and to Nicolas Maduro regime by publicly supporting the United States military deployment in the Caribbean Sea.
Right. So it's saying that the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister, right, Kamala Persad-Vicessa, right, has supported the United States entering this engagement against the Maduro regime, right? Go ahead.
This decision is seen as a strategic shift in the regional policy, further complicating the geopolitical landscape for Venezuela.
Right? And it's saying that this is a strategic shift, right? And the reason why it's a shift is because during the previous government Trinidad and Tobago had, they were supporting the Maduro regime, right? in terms of having diplomacy and talks, right? I think they had one talk between the Guyana's President Irfan Ali and Maduro to see if they could settle this dispute over the Escobar regime, right? But during that time, the Caribbean chose to settle this dispute without the United States, all right? And it was not taken well by the United States, and a lot of sanctions came upon different countries, all who supported this this negotiation without the United States being in it, all right? And that caused a strategic shift in regional policy, because now, because Trinidad and Tobago is supporting the United States, it gives the United States more legitimacy in entering into the Caribbean to solve this quote-unquote issue, right? And it made the geopolitical landscape complicated, because now the Caribbean has become divided, right? Once more. And some countries supporting Maduro, some countries supporting America. And now the Caribbean itself is starting to be just like in slavery, destabilized once more. All right, go ahead.
Amid an unprecedented surge in violence linked to drug trafficking and transitional criminal organization, Prasad Bisesa declares that her country would provide unhesitating access to Trinidadian territory if Washington requests it to counter a potential Venezuelan attack on Guyana.
Right? And this is the statement that many did not agree with in Trinidad here, right? And even in the Caribbean, right? Because the Trinidad and Tobago Prime Minister has given the United States full access. Understand? Right? Because she is asking the United States government to use Trinidad landmass, right, as a strategic way to overthrow the Maduro government. Understand? And to intervene in Venezuela. So she gave them full access. If they need any place to rest their troops or planes or to refuel within this territory, they have free access to do so, right? So she giving them full access to bring pressure upon the Venezuelan government, right? Because as we know, the standing view of Trinidad and Tobago now is to support Guyana, right? Because these two prime ministers belong to the same type of ethnicity and background, right? So they're supporting each other, right? Continue.
Should Maduro regime launch any attack against the Guyanese people or invade the Guyanese territory, and if the U.S. government requests access to Trinidadians' land to defend the people of Guyana, my government will grant it without reservation.
Right? And she will grant it without reservation. So which means she will give them full access, right, to set up base here in Trinidad and to fight against the Maduro regime from Trinidad and Tobago, right? And we know that Trinidad and Tobago is very close to Venezuela, right? Just 2 miles off, a very short distance, right? And with the type of technology now, Trinidad would be a strategic place to attack the Venezuelan regime, right? And if we look at the article, right, this is coming from Cuba headlines, right? So this is an article written from Cuba, so which means the information is already spreading around the Caribbean, right? So it's showing you that Trinidad's point of view now, right? Other Caribbean countries have to now go with caution because they realize that Trinidad has taken a different stance in terms of the support of people in the Caribbean together, right? They realize the Trinidad and Tobago basically turned a puppet of the oppressor. You understand? That is what this regime has introduced, right? And they, in turn, while supporting Guyana, hoping that the United States would be softer, right? Or have a lower-handed approach against Trinidad so that Trinidad may gain favor in America's side, and all the things like the restrictions on the visa and thing would be removed. You understand? So it's like a game they play. You understand? Trying to appease the oppressor, right? But many have been coming out and saying this is not a good approach because the history of the United States, right, after using countries is to discard them, to throw you away. You understand? To throw you on as the scripture said, the dunghill. You understand? Right? And this government in Trinidad is hoping that it would be different. But history is not on the side of that particular decision, right? Drop down, Shah, a little more.
Should the Maduro regime launch any attack against the Guyanese people or invade Guyanese territory, and if the U.S. government requests access to Trinidadian land to defend the people of Guyana, my government will grant it without reservation, she stated in a televised speech over the weekend.
Right, and that was just over the weekend. Continue.
The Prime Minister's statement comes at a time of high tension in the region, marked by the deployment of the U.S. destroyers and ammunition warships, such as the U.S. Cavalry, the U.S. Jason Dunham, and the U.S. Samson in waters near Venezuela.
These are the vessels outside, and the United States has outside outside Venezuela, right? Along with over 4,000 troops, right? Continue.
The operation is aimed at combating drug cartels, particularly the so-called cartels of the Suns, which regions and U.S. governments directly linked to the Chavistas leadership.
Right? And they're saying that they come to combat drug cartels, right? And the name of particular cartel, the cartel of the Sun, all right, which regional and U.S. government directly linked to Chavista leadership, meaning it stemmed from all the way from Chavez, right, which was the previous leader of Venezuela, right, and the cartel of the Suns, right, in Trinidad here, right, it never had no sign and no cartel of the Suns. You understand where I'm from, right? The United States has been fighting the drug trade all down through Colombia, all Peru, right? Argentina and all these places, right? And yet still, and they were fighting it since in the 1980s, and yet still, they still can destroy these drug gangs. You understand? And now they're coming to say that they're coming to destroy the drug trade in Venezuela because Venezuela producing so much drugs that it entered into the United States, right? And we have Mexico right next door, who is way closer, just a border away. You understand where I come from, right? And they're not coming against the Mexican government in this type of way, right? Although they do bring pressure on the Mexican government because the Mexicans are also, right? Issachar, which is the people of the Mosai, right? But this particular story that they made up, right, is just to enter into the waters of Venezuela to fight against the Maduro regime, right? Continue, Baba Kusha.
Prasad Bisesta justifies his support for Washington by highlighting that Trinidad and Tobago has suffered for 2 decades from drug trafficking, human trafficking, and arms smuggling.
Right, and she's saying, right, that to justify why she's supporting America is because we suffer 2 decades from drug trafficking, human trafficking, and arms smuggling, right? And this is the thing about Trinidad and Tobago, right? As Officer McCrack brought out in our video, right? One of the biggest drug dealers in Trinidad and Tobago was Dole Shady, right? Right? And Dole Shady didn't come from Venezuela, you understand? Right? And he could have only imported the drugs into Trinidad and Tobago because Trinidad and Tobago borders had remained unchecked. We had no guards on the borders. Understand? We invited this in, right? And it's a battle for this drug trade, not only for Venezuela, it's also for Trinidad, it's also for Colombia, and all the different cartels, right? And right when the drugs started to flow into the United States, right? It was because of the CIA, understand? Had a program instituted in the United States that caused drugs to spread all over America. You understand? So all this story that they're trumping up in the news, you understand, against Venezuela is only to build tension, right? And to distract people from the real issue, which is this oil-rich region between Guyana and Venezuela, right? And Guyana is in full support of the United States government and is willing to sell this oil to the Americans. But they know under the Maduro regime, it may be very more strict and it will be harder to deal with the Maduro government. So the United States is very ready to overthrow this regime and to input a new regime, right? Just like how they tried to input Juan Guaido at the time. And well, he couldn't make it, understand? And Maduro survived that particular battle. And now he has a new challenge to face, right? Him and the Venezuelan people, right? So we will jump away from this article, right? And you could give me the next one, Sha. Give me the former PP ministers cautious. Right? Former PP ministers cautious. So I'm bring it up on the screen. Right, you can go ahead, Officer.
Former PP minister cautious after PM, the Prime Minister's statement on Venezuela.
Right. So these are ministers who was in a previous government with our said Prime Minister today, right? They were in the 2010 to 2015 regime, right? Government of Trinidad and Tobago. And when the Prime Minister Kamala Prasad made this statement, right? Even her former ministers were cautioning her, right? That the statement she was making was very dangerous, right? A dangerous one to play, right? So you can go ahead and continue the article, Babakusha. So this is the Prime Minister, the current Prime Minister on the right of the screen, which is Kamala Prasad Bisesa, and this is the former Attorney General, right? This is Gavin Nicholas, right? He was a former Attorney General during the 2010 to 2015 regime, right? In Trinidad and Tobago. Go ahead, Officer Shah.
Gavin Nicholas left and Kamala Prasad Bisesa, former People Partnership Attorney General Gavin Nicholas, had sounded a note of caution on August the 23rd. Statement by the Prime Minister Kamala Prasad Bisesa, the Caribbean Sea outside of Venezuela territory waters. In a Facebook post, Nicholas said,
right? So the former People's Partnership, right, government, he was from the former administration, right? He sounded a note of caution to the Prime Minister, right? Because she expressed support for the U.S. naval deployment in the Caribbean Sea outside the Venezuelan territorial waters, right? Continue, Babakusha.
In a Facebook post, Nicholas said, I am absolutely unambitiously in support of eliminating crimes and making Trinidad and Tobago the safest country in the world to live.
So you see, he absolutely unambiguously in support of eliminating crime. So he say he's not against the going against the drugs and the cartels. He's not against that, right? He's supporting that initiative. Go ahead.
Trinidad and Tobago, the safest country in the world to live. This has always been my objective. But he added, the undisputed reality is that there is no military in history, nor will there be any in the future that can bomb drugs, cartels, or gangs out of existence.
Right? And he make a statement here, right? He's saying that there is no military in history, right, that they could go back and look back at that ever enter into our country and bomb out all the cartels, and the cartels never survive. You understand? No regime, no government, right? Every time they come against these drug cartels, that approach, it never worked, right? Because the cartels keep surviving and the drug trade keep going on, right? Continue.
While Trinidad and Tobago could benefit from greater vigilance of the waters between its coast and South American coast, Nicholas said, it is, however, important to remember that the U.S. could not eliminate the Taliban in Afghanistan by bombing them.
Right, and he make an analogy with the Taliban in Afghanistan, right? They try to bomb out the Taliban in Afghanistan, and it didn't work. Understand? Right? Until it reached so far that they had to cut a deal for the United States to remove all personnel from Afghanistan. And now, today, the Taliban is still going on. Right? Continue.
He added that the Israeli Defense Force could not dislodge the Hamas terrorist group even after killing over 400,000 Palestinians.
Right? So even when you see, even when you look at Hamas, right? Israel went in, bomb out Hamas. We see it every day on the TV, right? The shell they placed down to dust, and until people begging for food, right? Some of them, when they send out the food falling on them and kill them, right? And even after all that, even after Israel killed 400,000 Palestinians, it still have a remnant of Hamas still surviving. Go ahead.
And the Iraqi dictator Saddam Hussein was only removed from power after 100,000 Iraqis were killed.
Right? So he's trying to bring a point. And the point is, when hunting down these different regimes or people who they view as terrorists, right? Many people outside the regime that hunted down that end up getting killed. Understand? So a war against Venezuela will end up killing a vast amount of the population. And it's going to be the poor people in the society. Understand? The people have no defense. Understand? Just like I'm reading in the scripture, and the Lord say, if you come against the poor, he go what? He go destroy you. Understand where I come from? And this has been American history all throughout the countries that they're invading. A lot of people just end up dying. Understand? By when they try to overthrow this regime. Look at Haiti today. Haiti is totally dismantled. If you count the amount of people die in Haiti, understand, just by U.S. intervention in Haiti, right? It almost up in the millions. Understand? And all that is because of U.S. intervention in these countries. Go ahead.
Hussein was removed from power following the U.S.-led invasion of Iraq in March 2003.
Right, and that is Saddam Hussein talking about. Go ahead.
Which toppled his regime. He was captured by the U.S. force in December 2003 and subsequently faced trial for crimes against humanity, leading to his execution in 2006.
Right, so they had killed Saddam Hussein, right? Go ahead.
Nicholas said the Mexican border is the main entry point for illegal drugs entering the U.S. from South and Central America.
Right, so they say the main border for drugs is the Mexican border, right? Meaning that a lot of drugs pass through this area, right? Go ahead.
The Mexican border is the main entry point for illegal drugs entering the U.S. from South and Central America, not the Venezuelan borders.
Right, so you see, because the Venezuelan borders, not border with America, it's far, right? Continue.
The Trump administration, he continues, has been clear that his aim is regime change in Venezuela.
Right, and he says, although they come under the guise of destroying these drug cartels and gangs, right? he said the Trump administration already made it clear, right, that the aim is to bring regime change or to overthrow the government in Venezuela. That is the main reason America did. They want a new person who align with the ideology of America to be in Venezuela, right? Go ahead.
Nicholas said, history is clear as to the U.S. aim in oil and gas giants like Venezuela.
Right, and see history. When you look at history with any oil and gas giant, right? Just like this, the scriptures and I'm paraphrasing talk about giants in the earth. It didn't mean literally tall people standing 14 feet tall. Just like with the story quote here, right? Oil and gas giants, meaning that the big in the industry, right? These big names in the industry, they are the heavyweights in producing oil, right? Go ahead.
The rhetoric of bringing democracy, he continued, has been used conveniently by inconsistently over decades. He said in recent times, the U.S. has shown that it is no moral authority to speak on issues of democracy or law and order, both domestical and internationally.
Right, both domestically and internationally, right? And saying the rhetoric of bringing the democracy, right? That is the United States line. They want to spread democracy to all different countries in the world. And understand where I'm coming from? And this democracy that they're bringing is hell and destruction, is oppression, and understand is slavery, and understand for the people of the world. And understand that is why the scriptures say this is spiritual Egypt. Understand? This is the land that bringing bondage upon people. All right? Continue, Babakisha.
As a small island state, we must understand that our strength comes from reliable partners with common interests. A former TNT High Commissioner to the UK, Nicholas, said the UK recent visa imposition and the US 15% tariff on TNT and other utterance have shown neither country to be the kind of partners we can rely on.
That's right. And he joined reference now, right? Because he himself was a former High Commissioner to the United Kingdom, right? That is apart from being the Attorney General in Trinidad. And he is saying, right, when you look at the recent visa imposition against Trinidad and the US 15% tariff on Trinidad, the history is showing you that neither of these countries is to be kind partners with us. We can't rely on them because in a minute they just switch up. Understand? And that is the spirit that the Bible talk about, right? That the spirit of the so-called Caucasian man. You understand? All treaties they break it. They sign a treaty they did. Next week they break it. You understand where I come from? So this former Attorney General is warning the Prime Minister and trying to explain to her that these people are not people that they should deal with. You understand? It's not people that they should rely on. You understand? And this is why the Venezuelan government is coming strong against the United States because many treaties in the past that they make with Venezuela, they broke it. You understand? So Venezuela already understand from since in the time of Chavez that these people, understand, the Donald Trump and all the presidents of America, the spirit in this nation, right, is a nation that is against all other nations. Understand? Right? And they bring burden and bondage upon other nations, right? Continue, Officer.
Trinidad and Tobago, he continues, should not readily abandon its own closest allies to appease those who would easily discard us.
That's right. And that's happening. The Trinidad and Tobago, they come like they abandon the whole Caribbean because the Caribbean have one stance, and the Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago just decided to come on and say, nah. And understand, we rolling with the oppressor. Understand? And with that stance to take, the history has shown that the oppressor is always discard. Understand? even the closest allies who stand with them, right, in time of trouble. What?
Nicholas said we should seek to strengthen our relationship with dependable allies and build on our global network and alliance to ensure we spread our eggs around diverse baskets.
Right, go ahead.
He added, now, if we are serious about reducing crime, strengthening our economy, and preserving peace, there are many well-established global precedents that we can draw from.
Right, so many global precedents we could draw from, and we see anytime many examples we could draw from, right? That if we want to reduce crime and strengthen the economy and establish a proper country, right? We don't have to depend, right, on the oppressor to get it done, right? Continue.
Nicholas said we desperately need to strengthen our laws, enforcement, social service, community development, health, and education institutions. Another former PP government minister, Stephon Gaddis, expressed a similar view. In a separate post, Gaddis doubted local law enforcement was capable of fighting drug cartels without being compromised in some way.
Right, so this is Stephen Cadiz, and he's saying he don't believe Trinidad local enforcement could fight drug cartels, right, without being compromised in some way, and he's right, because the Trinidad local law enforcement mix up with all different type of ethnicities, understand? And everybody have different values, and everybody trained on that different system. And although they come into the police force is always susceptible to corruption and bribes and things like that, right? And that is a history that Trinidad and Tobago is known for all the way back in the days of Dulce and Boise Singh and all these criminals. They always had the police, so some level of the police within the ranks in their criminal organization, right? Continue, Babakusha.
It therefore stands to reason that we will need outside help that has not been compromised. But Gaddis said, history shows the U.S. did not have a nice experience in becoming involved in Central America and the Caribbean countries.
Right, so he's saying he knows Trinidad security agency is going to need some type of outside help. Understand? Because many times they have been compromised, right? And in the different security agencies in Trinidad. But he of himself saying, when you look at the history of the United States, he know it's not going to be good if America intervene, right? Based on the history of their intervention in the Americas and the Caribbean. Understand? And you could see the role, even the role the United States played all during slavery, right? Bringing a lot of terror and pain to the so-called Black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. The history, when it comes to intervention, is not good. And it's always pain and suffering for the poor and for the needy, right? Go ahead.
He questioned the reason for the U.S. naval deployment close to Venezuela. What exactly is the U.S. fleet doing offshore? Our neighbors is up for grabs. With the U.S. these days, one never know their real purpose.
Right, and you see, in looking, because when you see the U.S. fleet outside the shores of Venezuela, it's looking like the neighbors up for grabs, meaning that they're going to put hands on this regime and take them by force, right? And you say with the United States, these days, you never know, right? And that is the spirit of the so-called white man, the spirit of the oppressor. You understand? Every agreement, every treaty you sign with them, you never know, you're never sure. You're always unsure, because in a minute, it could switch. You understand where I come from? It could switch from being good days to very bad days. You understand? And that is the spirit of the so-called oppressor. You understand? He could break that treaty in an instant. All right? Shall I go hold up on the article, and you can go to the next one with Rowley. Babakasha.
Rowley, UNC dispute.
Hold up 1 minute. I'm going to add it to the screen. Right, you can go ahead.
What?
Yeah, you can go ahead. So on.
Rowley, UNC disrupting years of diplomacy by backing US.
Right, so this was the former prime minister, right, who recently, they recently lost the elections this year, right, and their policy was to support Maduro when under the first Trump administration, right, their policy was to support Maduro and to try to back the Caribbean countries from the oppression of America, right? And they had decided that if Guyana and Venezuela couldn't agree over the oil region, they had decided that they wanted to solve the issue among themselves in the Caribbean and not have US intervention, right? And as a result, many Caribbean countries paid either by tariff or by having very high visa restrictions, right, from their countries and or tariff on goods and services that we would receive from the United States, right? Continue, Babakasha.
Former Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley believes the UNC has lit a match in the Caribbean by openly supporting the U.S. naval deployment in the southern Caribbean Sea outside of the Venezuela territorial waters.
Right, so the former Prime Minister, Dr. Keith Rowley, right, he believed that the start a fire, you understand, the little match, and they're going to make this problem become worse by supporting the United States in the deployment against Venezuela, right? Go ahead.
Rowley said this could have far-reaching implications for Trinidad and Tobago and Caracas.
Right, and he's saying it could be bad for Trinidad and also all the Caribbean neighbors in the Caribbean by this happening, right? And he's going to explain what on. Go ahead.
Rowley reposted a Facebook comment from Michael Edmond Dahani on August the 25th, which called the Prime Minister Kamala Bissad-Bissessa's statement on the U.S.-Venezuela tension the most reckless foreign policy statement we have seen in years.
Right, so they say in years, they never see a reckless foreign policy statement in years like that in the Caribbean, right? Continue.
In that statement, Bissad-Bissessa supported the U.S. deployment to combat terrorist drugs cartel, said TNT, Trinidad and Tobago will not engage CARICOM on the matter.
Right, so she's saying she's not going to discuss this with her Caribbean neighbors, right? She making this decision on her own, right? Continue.
And provides to allow the U.S. access to Trinidad and Tobago territory if Venezuela invades Guyana.
Right, so she's saying if Venezuela invades Guyana, she's going to open Trinidad territory for the U.S. to use the island of Trinidad and Tobago. Where?
And the U.S. wants to use TNT territory for military operations to counter such an incursion.
Right, go ahead.
However, she said Trinidad and Tobago maintains good relations with Venezuela.
Right, and she's still saying Trinidad and Tobago maintains good relations with Venezuela, and you're coming against Venezuela, right? So you could see that hypocrisy. Go ahead.
Rowley said, compare that with what CARICOM did last time.
Right, so he explaining when this agreement happened before, right? We're only going to explain what CARICOM did, right? Continue.
Big guns, the USA, Canada, and Europe give Venezuela President Nicolas Maduro 8 days to leave and threatened invasion if he did not comply.
Right. So the last time, this was during the first Trump administration, right? USA, Canada, and Europe give President Nicolas Maduro 8 days to leave, right? And if he didn't leave, they was going to invade Venezuela. All right. Continue.
So like I said,
Go ahead.
that is a story where like when we are talking about when you even with your partnership, right? You even show that what we go on with some years ago, so say now US, Canada, and Europe, right? Now you see the United States going against Canada and all today and all thing.
Yeah, and you're right. It's showing that the place is coming divided. You understand? And many are the nations, right, are becoming separate from one another, right? Just like in the vision with Daniel, the foot was miry clay. You understand? All the nations starting to become destabilized, right? And even in the Caribbean, you're seeing everybody have a different everybody have a different stance, right? And that is happening in the Caribbean because many of us in the Caribbean is of different ethnicity, right? So now we in Trinidad and Tobago, right? You have black people, you have East Indian people, you have Chinese people, you have Syrian people, right? And we have a East Indian leader, and she is making the best decision for her people. You understand where I come from? And she is supporting her people in Guyana. You understand? So while it may look like she take the stance only for the favor of the United States, she also taking the stance for her people in Guyana, right? Because Irfan Ali is the Guyanese president, but he's also of the East Indian descent, right? Go ahead.
CARICOM shows leadership. He continues by sticking together and talking with one voice. He said, we showed leadership by talking to the UN, United Nations in New York. Rowley recalled he occupied Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley and then St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris to meet with the UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres to request dialogue instead of war.
All right, so they're saying that when this happened under the first Trump administration and they gave Maduro 8 days to leave or else they're going to invade, Rowley say he recalled he himself, the Prime Minister of Barbados, Mia Mottley, and St. Kitts and Nevis Prime Minister Dr. Timothy Harris, they went to the UN General Secretary and requested to have a dialogue, right? Instead of the war taking place, instead of America, Canada, and Europe invading, right? They went to the UN and said, let me try to talk it out, right? Let me try to have some type of dialogue. Go ahead.
CARICOM was in the forefront of a CARICOM Uruguay summit, which resulted in Montevideo Accord, strongly supported by Mexico, Norway, South Africa, and the African Union.
Go ahead.
Rowley said, finally, we gathered in St. Vincent, where Guyana and Venezuela did the unexpected and unthinkable. Both Presidents Maduro and Irfan Ali were brought face to face by CARICOM under the chairmanship of Prime Minister Ralph Gonzalez.
Right, so by the Caribbean working together among themselves without the intervention of America, Europe, and Canada, they was able to bring Irfan Ali and the Prime Minister, the President of Venezuela, Nicolas Maduro, together in one room, right? So that they could discuss this issue they had with the Essequibo region fighting over the oil, right? And they were able to bring them in one room. Go ahead.
And CARICOM leaders to sign Anos Val Accord.
And I was able to sign the Anos Val Accord, right? So they came to some temporary agreement, right? Go ahead.
He added, this period of high tension was tempered with aggressive, frantic CARICOM leadership, which until last weeks saw a period of calm and peace.
Right? So you see, from since then, right, before the United States decided to send warships in Venezuelan waters, the Annos Accord brought calm and peace until just recently when the United States decided to send these ships in the water. So which means that the accord was holding, which means Venezuela and Guyana agreed to hold peace under this accord that was signed under the St. Kitts Prime Minister, the St. Vincent Prime Minister, sorry, Ralph Gonzalez, right? So which means they were able to work it out among themselves. And it's the same thing today. If Black people could start to work out things among themselves, many of the problems, we wouldn't be going to the police and the army and the government, because we would be able to work it out among ourselves. So that make we feel like we dumb and we stupid and we can't do it and we can't solve the problems in the communities. We could. You understand? But many times it's because the intervention of outside forces does make we now turn to the oppressor to solve the problems. And then that is what has destroyed us as a community. And in this situation here, we had a new prime minister who had a new agenda, understand? Not from our community, causing now destruction in the Caribbean and causing now this accord to not hold anymore, right? Continue, Baba Kushar.
Rowley said this peace continued until Washington unilaterally hashed this latest tension under the guise of fighting drugs and crime.
Right, so they say, so the former prime minister in Trinidad saying Washington unilaterally hatched the latest tension under the guise of fighting drugs and crime. So which means it is not about fighting drugs and crime. Understand, right? But it's really because this region of oil between Venezuela and Guyana. Understand? They want United States want to have somebody there who they could control to run that whole operation instead of the Venezuelan regime, right? With Nicolas Maduro. Well,
with nuclear submarines, marines, and guided missiles in international waters. He warned, with this legacy in the face of interruptible issues surrounding U.S., Trinidad and Tobago has now set our decades-old successful foreign policy alight as a beacon to advocate of the Monroe Doctrine.
Right, go ahead. Go say the Monroe Doctrine.
The Monroe Doctrine is a U.S. foreign policy position that opposes European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere.
Right? European colonialism in the Western Hemisphere, right? And this was a old policy, right? And I'm going to explain what the policy is. Continue.
The doctrine states any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas by foreign power, it is a potentially hostile act against the U.S.
Right? So it's saying this doctrine, this is an old doctrine, right? I think that was from the 1800s. It's saying that any intervention in the political affairs of the Americas, which is in any country in the Americas, by foreign powers is a potential hostile act against the United States. So the United States taking it personally as if somebody attacked the United States land itself, right? Continue.
The doctrine first articulated in 1823 by the U.S. President James Monroe was central to America political and foreign policy tragedy in 20th century.
Right, so that's the strategy in the 20th century. Continue.
Rowley said Dr. Eric Williams, Errol Barrow, former Barbados Prime Minister John Compton, former St. Kitts Prime Minister Robert Bradshaw, former Prime Minister St. Kitts and Nevis, and Ambassador Joshua
E.T. Ebenezer, go ahead.
Vincent politicians
Mm-hmm.
must be awakened from their slumber to try to save what they have built.
Right, and he's saying this early Monroe Doctrine that did apply to the entire Caribbean, right? No country could have intervened in the political affairs of any other country, right? Or invade that country just like that, right? Understand? Because of this agreement that they signed, right? And he basically saying all these old prime ministers who died, understand, they come like out of this be seen locally, that be rolling in the grave, meaning that they say they must be awakened in the slumber to try to save what we have built. Understand? Because they realize America is eroding all these different policies that are set up in the Caribbean to safeguard the different countries in the Caribbean, right? And many of these things they're set up because from slavery and all these things, they realize the America would take advantage, understand? Or any superpower would take advantage of all these smaller islands, right? So they set up safeguards. And now when you look at today, you see in America totally overthrowing all the treaties they make, all the policies they set up, and all the safeguards that it had in place to protect smaller territories. They're totally eroding it now and coming and trying to take over these different countries by brute force. Understand? With military might and alliance, and it's showing it the spirit of the so-called oppressor today. Understand? It come like he unveiling himself. Understand? He taking off the mask. Understand? And showing you his true self. Understand? And showing you that he is the bully of the world. Understand? He come to oppress all these different nations in the world. Right? So give me Exodus chapter 2 and 23 and verse 2, Baba Kusha.
Exodus chapter 23, verse 2.
Mm-hmm.
Thou shalt not follow a multitude to do evil,
Right.
neither shalt thou speak in a cause to decline after many to rest judgment.
That's right. That is a good one. America tried to drum up support, understand, from all the nations to get the sympathy of all these different countries so that they would be able to go and overtake the regime in Venezuela. You understand where I come from? And they try to do it under the guise of drugs and getting rid of drugs and ammunition and the different cartels in Venezuela. You understand? Right? And they say we should not follow that multitude to do evil as a people. You understand where I come from? Right? The people of Venezuela is the Lord's people. Right? They are from the tribe of Asher. You understand? Right? And you black man, you Hispanic man, you native Indian man, we're not supposed to get involved to support the destruction of our people. Understand? To support the destruction of the Lord's people, right? But Kusha, if you could jump from there, give me Isaiah chapter 5 and verse 20, Baba Kusha.
Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20.
Mm-hmm.
Woe unto them that call evil good.
That's right. Woe, destruction. Woe means destruction. Destruction unto them that call evil good. Right? Go ahead.
And good evil.
That's right. And the Babylon, the great America, feel that what they are doing is good. You understand where I come from? Right? They feel that they're going to bring prosperity to the American people. Understand? Right? They feel that overthrowing the government in Venezuela is good. And understand? For their agenda, they feel that oppressing all the other nations with tariffs and visa restrictions is good. Right? But they say, woe unto them that call evil good and good evil. Go ahead.
That put darkness for light
Mm-hmm.
and light for darkness.
Go ahead.
That put bitter for sweet
Mm-hmm.
and sweet for bitter.
Go ahead.
Verse 21. Woe unto them that are wise in their own eyes and prudent in their own sight.
That's right. Destruction is going to be coming to this nation. Destruction is going to be coming to Babylon the Great. You understand? Just like it said in the book of Revelation. Right? So all these things that we're watching out, playing out in the world today, right? This oppression that America is bringing on countries all over the world, all that is going to come to a time of total destruction for this place, total destruction of America. You understand? Right? Babylon is falling. Babylon is falling. That is what the entire world is going to see. You understand? The reign of America is slowly coming to an end. You understand? And America is in desperate times, right? Trying to reassert their power and dominance in the world. You understand? And when you look around in the world today, the world is starting to wake up and see that this empire is one of the strongest empire in the world, but is not the most respected empire in the world anymore. Understand? All these countries realize that they have been constantly oppressing all these other nations and breaking all these treaties, promising all these good things, and in the end, these countries are falling into ruin and destruction, just like we were showing earlier with Libya and Cuba and Kuwait and you have Yemen, right, and all these places that are in turmoil today. You understand, right? All these different regions, all these are places that were destabilized by the United States of America, or as the scriptures say, Babylon the Great, right? Spiritual Egypt, right? And the scriptures say every foul spirit is coming from this place. Every foul spirit. You black man, you Hispanic man, and Native Indian man have to understand that the America that we know today, understand, right, has become toxic. You understand? Has become destructive to the so-called black, Hispanic, and Native Indian man. Understand? Right? And we have to separate ourselves and come together as black people, as Hispanic people, as Native Indian people, come together as one nation under the Most High, following his laws, his statutes, and commandments. Right? And just as we started, we're going to end, right? Saying that you black man, you Hispanic man, and you Native Indian man, you are the true Jews of the Bible. Understand? You are the Lord's chosen people. Right? And before we close, Baba Kusha, if somebody can give me Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6, and we'll close off with that, Baba Kusha. You understand? You, black man, Hispanic man, Native Indian man, just like we've seen against what's going on against the children of Asher, which is the Venezuelan people, right? Asher is the Colombia to Uruguay, that whole South American region, fall under the tribe of Asher, which is the Lord's people. And you're watching Babylon the Great coming up against the Lord's people. You understand? Trying to bring them into oppression and bondage and hardship. Right? Venezuela has I forget how much million in gold locked up in England, right? And they can't access it, right? Because this is the oppression of the so-called white man, the so-called Caucasian man. And understand? He is the oppressor of the world. Right? So if we give me Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6, Baba Kusha.
The book of Deuteronomy chapter 7 and verse 6. For thou art an holy people.
Right? So the Bible says that thou art a holy people. When it says thou, it means the children of Israel. It means the black, Hispanic, and Native Indian people. The Lord says we are holy people. Holy means separate, or Kodash in the Hebrew, right? It means separate, a nation set apart, right? Go ahead.
Unto the Most High power.
And we will set apart unto the Most High power, unto the Lord, right? Black people, Hispanic people, and Native Indian people will set apart for the Lord. Continue.
The Most High hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself.
Right? And the Most High chose. He chose the people with the bloodline of Israel in Venezuela to be a special people unto himself. Go ahead.
Above all people.
Above what?
Above all people.
Above what?
Above all people.
And these people were supposed to be above all people. Go ahead.
That are upon the face of the earth.
And that are upon the face of the earth. So you black man, you Hispanic man, and you Native Indian man, we are the chosen people of the Lord. Though it might look different, Though you might watch on the street in whatever country you may be in Barbados or Cuba, Venezuela, Brazil, Uruguay, understand, Mexico, United States of America, right? Or Jamaica or St. Kitts or Grenada, though we may look poor, busted and disgusted, you are the Lord's chosen people. And with that, we're going to pass the class over to Priest and Officer Shah.
Security and development. We are the IFPD out of 123 New York under command of General Yohana. New rules of brothers and sisters. When the new brothers and sisters come to the school, they are all finished for 6 months. They are there to be students only. They are there to shed themselves of the good. After 6 months, if a brother or sister has an interest in a peculiar person, he or she must get permission from the head to speak to another brother or sister. There is another 6 months in which a brother or sister will report each other. After the 6-month period, the brother or sister will get permission from the head to marry. Tag, which is a commandment. You can find this in Numbers chapter 18, verse 21, Malachi chapter 3, verse 8 to 10. These 10 and give you a bunch of my chapter 10% of every penny and piece of Lord give to which you return you department or teach our priest fund. We will offering for priests, non-mandatory, whatever amount you like to give. Upcoming holy convocation. That will be the memorial blowing of trumpets. That will be the first day of December. That will be 21st of September 2025. You can find this in Leviticus chapter 23, verse 24 to 25. Reminder, General, watch them check on social media, such as ISDA, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, and so on, for ISD material. If your brother wants to be a trooper in the school, then just start with more black, which includes black boots, like shirt, like pants, like headband, stuff. That is said, Martin, stuff. But what we don't try to face these, the Lord pray. And we know, but my, that, yeah.
What we said in the English was, our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name, Yahweh, thy kingdom come, thy will be done, in earth, as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread. Give us our debts, as we forgive our debtors, and lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. So be it.
Let's get a teacher one to you. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Your heart was
all about shooting the shack. Thumb.
And the top. Sa. Still on face of sister. Look at one to you. Imagine Shabbat. Imagine. Barak. Your heart was